All right, welcome back everyone. We are doing a little common rafter layout today. We went over a problem on the board and I'm going to show you guys the layout version of it. So we have a problem with a 9 slope with a span of 7 feet. We did all our math. So we are going to set up our framing square and I'm going to show you in the direction that you're going to do it. So on the small side of the square or the tongue, you're going to put your unit rise, which is the 9 in the 9/12 slope. So set your 9 on there, put your stair gauge on there till it hits, tighten it up. Over on this side, we have our 12, which will always be 12 on here. Only the slope number will change. So 9/12 will intersect and we'll tighten up there, okay? Don't line it up on the number, it'll be pretty close, but you're just using these as clamps to keep them in the right direction. So we're gonna start right off the very tip of this board. And I'm gonna draw my first plumb line, which will be my plumb line at my ridge, okay? We calculated a line length of rafter of 52.5 inches. So I'm gonna pull my tape 52.5 and put a mark on there. I'm gonna take the square again. Square is always gonna be pointing towards your bellies. So opposite of the way that I'm standing. So if you get in a situation, you can hold this depending on how you lay it out. If you look this way, I'm barely touching. If I go this way, I'm touching the whole way. So however you want to hold the square is totally up to you, but whether you're on the bottom of the board or the top of the board, that slope is the same. So line up at your intersecting point there. That's your plumb line at the building. The last measurement I have is going to be the line length of my overhang, which we calculated as 15 inches. So from that point there to this point here would be 15. And then you're going to draw your third plumb line and last one. That's going to be the plumb line at the fascia. We could have did this all in one shot. If you wanted to do the math instead of starting and stopping, we could have drawn 52.5, added 15 to that to get 67.5 and not have to take the tape and move it multiple times. Doesn't matter which way you do it as long as you have the correct measurements. So at my ridge, I have to shorten half the thickness of that ridge board. So it's a 2x8 ridge, which is 1.5 inches thick. Half the thickness of that would be 3/4. So I have to shorten at 90 degrees. So if I take the framing square and align it with my plumb line and mark 3/4 of an inch, draw my new shortened mark, that would be shortening at ridge. If I come down to the shortening at my fascia, it's a 2x6 fascia. I'm going to shorten the entire thickness of the 2x6. So just like I did for the ridge, I could put my square on here, line it up, mark 1.5 inches, or I could take the square and the tongue of the square is 1.5 inches. I can line that up there and draw right alongside it. So either way, I'm shortening the 1.5 inches. My bird's mouth, for all intents and purposes, we cannot take more than 2/3 of this bird's mouth or material away from the rafter. So we're going to use a C-cut at 3.5 inches. Typically on a job between 2.5 and 3.5 is what most people use, depending on the thickness or the width of the stock you're using. But to get a 3.5 inch C-cut, I'm going to put my square right along my plumb line and I'm gonna slide down until 3.5 inches intersects the bottom of my board. So once I got 3.5 intersected there and this is lined up, I'm gonna draw my C cut right there. So here's my C cut. Here's the shortening fascia, shortening at our ridge. That would be all that's required for you to lay out a common rafter. If you were to cut this, you would cut on your shortening line here, on your shortening line there, along your C cut here, and along your heel cut there. So that would come out, that would come off, that would come off. What you want to make sure is when you are shortening these, that the shortening lines go on the inside of the layout, not the outside. So we want to shorten from point A to point B. We want to make it less. So line to the inside, C cut, and that is your common rafter layout. So hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully it helps. We'll see you next time. Thanks.